Great to be here, and a topic that's very close to my heart because I think we all have issues, let's be honest, around selling. So we're going to try and make this as interactive as possible. For those that might not have ever heard me speak before, I call it spade a spade, and I will be brutally honest with you. And I encourage you to take notes because we've got a limited amount of time, and I'm going to try and cover off on as much as possible. So before we get into the focus of today, I'd like you to type into the chat box, when you think of sales or salespeople, what is it that you think of? What are the first words that come to mind? And let's see if your fingers are working. Type it in the chat box, because I think that's the first fundamental problem with us. So, Leanne kicked us off straight away. Pushy, supported by tomorrow. Pushy, wonderful, scary, needy, yes, maybe an ability to talk, annoying. We hear things like dirty salesman, snake oil salesman, relentless there from Teresa, thanks. So who wants to do that? Who wants to be that person? Yes, I might know the thinking of my business, and the reality is I need to sell, but then I've got this mindset of pushy, relentless, dirty, liar, bad listeners, aggravating, and I don't want to be that. And sadly, a lot of our perception of salespeople have been, in the older days, let's call it that, influenced by things like free holiday, come and listen to a sales pitch for timeshare, and very much more recently, the seemingly never-ending call center operator that phones to sell me my 12th cell phone contract. Like, really, do me a favor. So the first thing is to understand your identity. That's number one. In business, I have to sell. It's a rule of doing business. If I don't like to sell, I should get out of business. And no matter what level of an organization you're in, you are the chief rainmaker. You have to ensure that it rains, and for it to rain in your business, you need to do marketing and selling, or at least oversee that and drive that. So number one, change your identity around selling. You are a sales professional. You are not a dirty salesman. You're not a pushy salesman. You're not an aggravating one that doesn't listen. You're a sales professional. Because if that's my identity, I at least go into the market with feeling proud to be able to put food on my table. Because if I'm not selling, let's break it down. That's the true reality. If I don't sell in my business, I cannot put food on my table for my children. Why should I be ashamed of that? How I go about doing it, yes, I want to match that to my identity, my professionalism, my business, my ethics. So identity number one, replace it with I'm a sales professional. Once I understand that I'm a sales professional, what is it that salespeople do? So again, type into the chat box. Let's see what it is that you think you do when you're the sales professional. What are you out there to try and achieve? What is the definition of selling as you see it? So let's see what we've got and see how, if I have this identity of being a sales professional, what is it that I'm actually going to do? So yes, convince people that they need what I'm selling. I have to close the deal. I have to add value and solve problems. Jobber, that's a good one. We're going to come back to that just now. Present information to allow people to make decisions. Get people to know my product. And I think that's the danger. Often we default to the product or the service. So here's the reality. If my identity is I'm a sales professional, what is it that I'm doing? Number two, I'm professionally helping people to buy. So write that down. As a sales professional with that new identity, what am I doing? Number two, I'm professionally helping people to buy. Who of you don't like helping people? We all like helping people. None of us like to be sold to, but all of us like to buy. So as a sales professional, number one. Number two, I'm professionally helping people to buy. I'm taking a need that they may have, that they might not even know they have, and I'm matching it with the value that I can provide. whether that be the product, the service, the combination of products and service. I'm establishing their need, highlighting it to them, and I'm showing how I can match that need. So I'm professionally helping people to buy. If you think back to Steve Jobs when he brought the iPhone out and the iPad, we didn't even know we needed that. But through the process, what did Apple do? They professionally allowed me to buy. So number one, identity is a sales professional. Number two, what is it that I'm doing? I'm professionally helping people to buy. Okay, so how do I do that? Now, here's the reality. Who of you think you're good at sales? Type in yes if you think you're good. Type in no if you think you're not. If you're still thinking about it, then the answer is probably no. And I hear that all the time, but Harry, I'm not good at selling. I don't like selling. I don't want to sell. And of course, a lot of no's coming in there. So I want to tell you, with the exception of the odd yes that's coming through there, you have been lying to yourself over the years. It is a human's innate ability to sell. You would have died in the womb of your mother if you couldn't sell. Because if you were hungry, if there wasn't enough food, if mom had a good Durban curry, you gave her a boot and she knew to stop that. When you were getting uncomfortable, as you were getting bigger, you pushed and made space. That's selling. And you've been selling every day of your life ever since. When you try to get out of trouble as a kid, when you didn't do your homework and you came up with excuses, when you went for your first interview, when you got your first promotion, when you negotiated a bonus, and dare I say, when you went into business. We have been selling our whole lives to get a date, to get a partner. We've always been selling, but we see it as the separation from us. No, it's not. Every single one of us can sell. And it's because often in business, the easy part is we know our product, we know our service. And if we sit in front of the right person, emphasis on the right person, I know you'll sell ice to an Eskimo because your enthusiasm for matching their need with your value will automatically do the sale. It's the process of getting in front of them that we often get stuck with. So if I've got the identity of a sales professional, if I understand that what am I doing, I'm professionally helping people to buy, the next thing you do is you map out the sales process. What needs to happen from the first bit of marketing, whether it's I'm getting an inbound lead or an outbound lead, I'm going to the market, doesn't matter where the lead starts. What is the process that happens through a number of different touch points? Because I'm going to reference him later on again, but Jeffrey Gedimer, a sales expert in Canada, says, all things being equal, people buy from those that they know, like, and trust. All things being not so equal, people buy from those they know, like, and trust. And in my sales process, and in particular in the entrepreneurial space, where you haven't got tens of millions to build a brand, your sales process is critical to build know, like, and trust. So often sales is admin. What am I sending about my business to somebody? And then what am I expecting in return? Or what will be the follow-up call that I give? And then what will be the return? What's some more information I send them? What will be the return? How do I position our get-together meeting? How do I run that meeting? And what are the processes till they actually give us the go-ahead? Now, you can still continue with that process. Once they get the go-ahead, you know, what's the operations, what's the invoicing, what's the follow-up to get the money in my bank account? That's a whole separate thing. So if you really want the full process from interest to money in the bank, map it out. But in this context, what is the sales process? And it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be consistent. Because McDonald's is not the best restaurant in the world to go to for a celebration. Definitely didn't take my wife there for Valentine's Day. But they're the biggest and most profitable in the world because of the consistency. So map out that sales process. What is going to be going backwards and forwards between me and the client or prospective client or customer in the process of selling. And that's why we hate a call center agent, because there's no process. There's no like and trust because they're a stranger. There's no needs analysis because before I've even had a chance to talk, they're telling me what I want. Well, I haven't told you what I need. You haven't helped through questions, help me identify a need I have and how you're going to match it. So please bugger off. I haven't got the time now. Go away. And that's what we do. And some of us, block numbers and don't take calls and all sorts of things. Unfortunately, the predictive dialer keeps phoning you until you take the call. Anyway, as a side, sales professional is my identity. I'm professionally helping people to buy, number 2, and I'm mapping out the sales process step by step. Now, I know there's some boys and girls, ladies and men, and everything in between on the call. So you might not want to admit this, but who of you have ever cried at a movie? You've watched a movie either in the cinema or at home, and there's been tears running down your cheeks. If you're brave enough to admit it, you can type yes into the chat box. And Louise kicks us off, definitely, many times, all the rest of it. So let's just think of that process. I've cried watching something in the movies. How many times has that been scripted, rehearsed, practiced before I cry? Somebody's written a book or a script. They've gone through it in their head and done multiple iterations of it. They've then had editors externally, multiple people giving influence. It then goes into a script. It gets practiced. While it gets practiced, the actors decide, tweak this, change this. The director gives input. We then do a few dry runs. We do multiple live sections. It then gets edited afterwards, added in music, added in ambience, and then we cry. Wow. That line has probably been said in somebody's mind on a piece of paper or live hundreds, if not thousands of times to make me cry. So why are you winging it when it comes to sales? Why are you thumb-sucking what to say? Why are you arriving unprepared? That's what amateurs do. And I don't cry at amateurs' movies. I laugh instead of crying. And I want to really make this clear, because a lot of people say, well, I don't want to be scripted. It sounds false. No, it sounds natural because it's been practiced. And the problem with, again, our call center agents, you can hear them reading off the line. My surname is Welby-Cooke. I hear, hello, can I please speak to Mr. Welby-Cooke? I'm already pissed off. Then they say, how are you today, sir? And I say, oh, fine, thanks, and you? Oh, thank you so much for asking. It's on the bloody script. It sounds so unnatural because they're reading it. So if I've got the sales process number 3, I script it. If I've got salespeople in my business, I want to script it for them. I want to do role plays with them. I want to practice it. I want to deal with good sales kind of calls and bad sales calls before they happen. Because we can rehearse that, we can role play that, we can play devil's advocate, we can deal off live with difficult customers, nice customers, customers that promise the world, customers that don't deliver. So the 4th part is sales is like show business. It needs to be scripted, it needs to be rehearsed, it needs to be practiced, and then it is delivered to make people cry, or in your case, to make them buy. So the preparation around my sales engagements are important. So quick recap, my identity is I'm a sales professional. What do? I professionally help people to buy. How do I do that? I have a process mapping out what happens to build know, like, and trust throughout the sales process. The 4th one, I understand it's show business, and I script, practice, rehearse, and then execute everything. And I will do that for myself, but I will also do that for my teams. Another one just on that before we move to number 5 is record your sales sessions if they're on Zoom. Record them on your phone. And somebody said to me the other day, well, I haven't asked for permission. Either don't, or say, I'm recording this call, recording this session, so that I can ensure I miss nothing. I can reference back to it and ensure that I'm adding value to you, Mr. or Mrs. Client. Is that acceptable? And who's going to say no? By you listening to it or listening to it of your team, it's so easy to pick up where we go wrong because it sounds false. It sounds unnatural. They were ready to buy and we actually talked them out of it. So if you've got that fourth, the rehearsed, scripted part right, record the calls and you will be able to make the minor tweaks that are required. So what's the fifth part? The fifth part is we lose in sales because I don't have control. If I'm a sales professional, I need to be in control of the process. If your doctor is not in control of the process, do you still think they're a professional? If your accountant is not in control of the process, do you still think they're professional? To be a sales professional, number one, I have to control the process. Therefore, I have to, and because I've mapped the process out in number 3, number 4, 5 that I'm sharing with you now, I control the process. I tell the customer, prospect, lead, whatever they are, what's going to happen next, what I'm expecting, and also what I'm going to do. Because part of controlling the process is positioning. So before I start any sales call, sales engagement, I will say, let's look at who we got on the call. Monica. Monica, would it be all right with you if I just explain the process we're going to go through today? Monica will say yes. The best words to use in any sales engagement, you're going to need your pen and paper to write this down now, are, so that I may serve you better, would you mind if I ask you a few questions? So that I may serve you better, would you mind if I ask you a few questions? And that's a critical distinction because I'm asking your permission to control the process. So I'm saying that right up front. Monica, we're going to sit down today and explain how we're going to go about this. But before we start, so that I can serve you better, would you mind if I ask you a few questions? And then I have a scripted set of questions to understand what the need is, to understand what their frustrations are if they don't use a similar product or if they are using a similar product from somebody else. I first want information from them. Whilst they're talking, they don't think I'm pushy. Whilst they're talking, they actually think, geez, this is a nice guy. I'd like this person. I know, like, and trust them the more I'm talking. And that sounds kind of counter-logical. But think back to maybe your spouse, not always our spouse, but sometimes a good friend of ours. We'll have a conversation. We'll go for a cup of tea, a glass of wine, a beer, whatever it may be. And they will just vent, dump information. And we will sit there going, oh, yes, really, shame. Oh, oops, oh. And at the end of it, they'll stand up and they'll say, Harry, thank you so much. You've helped me so much today. And I think, but I said nothing. Because if they're talking themselves into our relationship. So that I may serve you better, would you mind if I ask you a few questions? Great, then tell me the questions. Right, now that you've given me the information, this is what I'd like to propose. Also understanding that if I'm controlling the process, I need to understand that sales is like dating. I can go tap on the shoulder of every pretty lady I see in the mall, on the street, at a party, and say, would you like to get married? I can say that. 99.9% of the time, I'm going to get a blood nose, a kick in the groin, a punch in the face, a swear word, or a cold shoulder. The 0.0001% that it might work, I might have to do that 10,000 times. Well, that's the volumes business that call center agents do. I don't want that because I'm not setting my business up for success. I have to build trust and credibility. So I can't go from stranger to married in one step. Stranger to, oh, this is an interesting person. Let's exchange phone numbers. Let's go for coffee. Let's go for coffee again. First coffee is maybe with friends, less threatening. Second one is on our own. Then maybe a daytime meal. Then maybe an evening meal. Sales is the same process. Now, depending on the type of item you're selling, the higher the value, the less frequently people buy that, the more touch points are required. The lower the value, the more frequently people buy that, the fewer the touch points. So if I'm selling bread or milk, I don't need to build that level of relationship because people are buying it all the time, relatively cheap. If I'm selling a new IT solution that's multi-million rand investment, I have to build the relationship a lot longer. So I need to control that process, which is the fifth part, and position every stage. Right, thank you for this information. Let me explain to you the next steps. So that's number 5, is control the process and position all the stages, which is critical. The next one, number 6, is you actually have to ask for the business. We go through this whole process. We're talking, we're telling, we think we're all excited. They're all excited. They love me. They're going to buy. And then I don't ask for the business. Crazy. Or I'm so busy talking that they don't get an opportunity to ask for the business. And therefore I've talked my way out of the business. So a good buying signal. And the 80s did a lot of bad selling, pushy salesmen, objections, buying signals, all the rest of it. But buying signals are still a thing. So I ask a question, they give an answer. I ask a question, they give an answer. I ask a question, they give an answer. They ask a question now. That's a buying signal. It's not necessarily that they're ready to buy, but it's a buying signal. Because now they're asking, how does this work? What does it cost? How's it going to help me? When can you deliver? Those are buying signals. At the end of my process, I have to ask the client for the sale. How would you like to move forward? Based on what you've said, I'd like to recommend ABC for you. How would you like to move forward with that solution? I have to ask for the business. And that's the part that most of us are nervous about. We're going, well, what if they say no? Well, I'd rather them say no in front of me, because then I can deal with that, than they don't say yes or no, and they disappear into the ether and they ghost me. Because we've all had that, prospects that ghost us. They said they were interested, they fall off the face of the earth. I want to ask them for the sale because I control the process. If they say no, if they say they're not sure, if they say it's too expensive, if they say they're going to have to think about it, and all the other nonsense people come up with. So if I'm controlling the process, positioning it at number 5, if number 6, I'm asking for the sale, the 7th important step that I want to share with you today is sales is a numbers game. And if we're playing a numbers game, we need to test and measure and keep score. We've got in our business a 13-step sales process, 7 touch points. I keep score of exactly where people are in that process, what my conversion rates are from step 1 to step 2, from step 2 to step 3, from step 3 to step 4. January and February this year, great lead numbers, lots of inquiries. To actually getting the first hurdle done and going through the first few steps to talk to the people, biggest drop off. Okay, well, if I know that, then I don't have to focus on getting more people into my system. I don't have to focus on the end of the sales process. I know that that's the sliver. I must get more people from the initial inquiry to at least the first conversation. So I'm testing and measuring. I'm knowing that if I'm doing 4 sales meetings and 1 is turning into business, that's not necessarily bad for my industry. So I actually don't have a sales issue. I've got a marketing issue. I should be doing 8 meetings to get 2 sales. Okay, so I want to know where the numbers are. I want to track the numbers. I want to know that this type of client from this type of marketing source brings in this amount of money. A different marketing source, a different type of client brings in a different type of money. Okay, so I know, because Mike said it when he did the introduction. He said, going after big clients, big invoices, yeah, big clients, big invoices often take longer. So I want to have a marriage in my business between big ticket items that can pay my profit and some little ticket items that can keep me in business, that can pay the overheads. And especially when we're doing tenders, working with big corporates, what are the examples? Having really big client, sadly, a lot in the enterprise development and supply development space. We've got a concentration of few big clients, payments that are not very frequent. The cash flow kills you. I want little clients all the time to keep the doors open, to keep me sane, to manage my cash flow. And I want the bigger things to be the profit, the reinvestment, the taking me forward. But if I'm not tracking the numbers, how do I look at that? So let's go back to number one. Number one, I'm a sales professional. Number two, I professionally help people to buy. Number three, I have a clearly defined process of going backwards and forwards how I do that. Number four, I have it scripted and I practice that and tweak it as I go through so that I can make them cry, or in this case, buy. Number five, I control the process. So I'm positioning at each stage what's coming next. So I look like a professional. They feel like they are in good hands in the process. And number six, I ask them to buy. It doesn't help that they are in the process and I'm not asking for the sale. Okay, and we're going to deal with what happens if they say no or they have objections. So that's number six. And number seven is it's a numbers game. I have to test, measure, track everything. So now let's get to the fear of rejection. So who of you like rejection? Again, let's see if people are still alive, typing yes or no. Do you like rejection? And rejection specifically from the sales. I'm not talking from your loved one, from a sales perspective. Do you like people saying no? So type in yes if I like the rejection, or no if I don't like the rejection. And if you're anything like me or most other humans on the planet, we're not suckers for punishment. We kind of don't like to be rejected. So when we get objections, we kind of rattled. And the reason we rattled is we didn't script what to do with objections. And then people will tell us the most interesting and the most boring things just to get rid of us, because we do the same thing. Oh yeah, send me an email and I'll look at it. Sorry, I'm not interested. Yeah, I need some time to think about it. This seems expensive. I don't have money right now. We haven't got a budget. Any bull dust that comes out their mouth to just get rid of you. That's actually what an objection is. And it's not real. And the danger is we try and balance their logic or their emotion, whichever they're coming from as a default, with my logic. Oh, well, I can't afford the product. Oh, well, how can you afford not to take it? I haven't got the time right now. Well, let me make it easy for you. So I'm trying to deal with their objection with my logic. It's never going to work. The other thing is that might not be the only objection, or there might be multiple objections. So here's the trick. When you ask for the sale and somebody says, whatever, you say, great, let me just make a note. Okay, so you're concerned about the price, right? Any other objections? Well, I have to ask my next door neighbor's wife. You know, they come up with nonsense. Okay, that's great. You have to worried about the price. You have to ask your next door neighbor's wife. Any other concerns? Well, I'm not sure you can deliver. Okay, good, you're not sure. Anything else? Then you repeat all the objections back to them and say, are you sure this is a comprehensive list? And they will say, oh, I thought of this, or no, that's it. Okay. So if we can deal with these objections, if we can make you comfortable around these, will you be in a better position to move forward? Well, now we just look at them, because now they can't just say, well, no, because if they're not, okay, then there must be something else that's at stake. There must be something else that's an issue. There must be something else that's concerning you. And now we can add to the list again. And then we literally go through the whole list of objections one after the other. After each one, we're saying, are you comfortable around the affordability? Are you comfortable around your next door neighbor's wife? Are you comfortable? Are you comfortable? And then when we've gone through all the objections, we ask again. So now that we've dealt with all your concerns, because they told me it was all their concerns, how would you like to move forward? So it's critical when you're dealing with objections, get them all out at the same time, confirm that it's it, and that if you deal with those, they would be moving forward, or get all the objections out. Deal with them one at a time, confirm it's acceptable. At the end, say, right, we've dealt with all of your concerns. Don't call them issues, don't call them objections, all your concerns. How would you like to move forward? And then you can assume and sell and do all sorts of interesting things. So the objections we need to have practiced. Because the other thing that happens with sales, and I'll reference his name just now, there's a great sales guy internationally that talks about hopium. We have a sales meeting and it goes so well that we're addicted to the hopium, which is stronger than the real drug opium. Oh, they're going to sign up. Oh, they gave us good feedback. They said, send us an email. Therefore, the money's coming into my bank account. No, it was just a good excuse to get rid of me. They said, this is brilliant. Let's meet again. And now I can't get hold of them. It's the hopium. And the problem with hopium in sales is if I get hopium from one or two people, I think, okay, well, this money's coming to bank account. I don't have to focus on getting more people to talk to you. No, that's why the testing and measuring is important. Knowing that I'll probably have 10 people say, yes, they're interested and still not buy. Only one will. Okay, so I still need to be going out there canvassing. And here's the reality. Most businesses that we coach, they aren't doing any or nearly enough sales. They say things to us like, well, you know, my business works on word of mouth. My business works on referrals. And you're sitting there nodding your head going, so does mine. No, it doesn't. Your business works on hope and pray. Now, I'm all for hope and prayer, but I'm not prepared to put my family's livelihood on that. I can't sit here hoping and praying that because I've done good work for you, that tomorrow morning you're waking up not thinking about your own problems, your own cash flow, your own goals, your own health, your own concerns. I'm hoping and praying that tomorrow when you wake up, you're actually going to think about my business and wanting to send people my way. That's a reactive strategy. And the number one thing we do when we coach our clients is to ensure that we're proactive. If I know my numbers, I proactively know the nonsense people will tell me and the numbers that I need to make the sales. And often it means I need to do more marketing and more sales. So that was number 8. Script the objections, get them all out, deal with them one by one, and make sure that we've now dealt with all of your concerns. And then number 9, and number 9 is a critical one. So the number 9 is sharpen the saw. If you're in business, you're in sales. If you're in business, you're in finance. If you're in business, you're in management and team and stuff like that. It's just the rules of the game. So what learning have you done? So here's a little book, The Greatest Salesman in the World. Let me just make sure you can actually see it. Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino. It was the book of the month to our coaching team in March 2009. It was written in 1968. Mine pages are a little bit brown and it's falling apart. It's a brilliant little book. The Greatest Salesman in the World, Og Mandino. And I often have them as kind of big sales and you can get them quite cheap. Lovely little short read. You have to get some sales skills. Another one, anything by Jeffrey Gitomer. He's the Canadian guy I spoke about, and maybe I'll type in here quickly for you his name. Definitely the Sales Bible is a good one. The Little Red Book of Selling is a good one. His daily newsletters and podcasts are brilliant, so very relevant. The other one that's pretty good too is Brian Tracy. Now, Brian Tracy's been around, feels like, for 100 years. Brian Tracy was big in the 80s. And I actually, for our team, bought one of his audiobooks on sales last year. And despite that being from the late 80s, through COVID, through the industrial fifth, industrial revolution, past the fourth already, into AI and all the rest of it, it's still relevant stuff. So anything by Brian Tracy is pretty good. And then the other one I was referring early on about hopium is Ari Gelper. And let me type in Ari Gelper here too for you. Ari Gelper is an American living in Australia, and he talks a lot about trust-based selling, relationship-based selling, which fits in with what Jeffrey Gitomer said about people like to do business with those that they know, like, and trust. It's critical, critical, critical. So if you're in sales, which you will be for the rest of your life, whether it be in business, whether it be in relationships, whether it be with your children, anything like that, you must get better at selling. And therefore you need to sharpen the sword. You need to actually focus on doing something there. So questions, please type them in either into the chat box or the Q&A will deal with questions. But let's recap. Number one, I'm a sales professional. I'm proud to do what's necessary to put food on the table, to feed my staff, to pay them at the end of the month, to grow a business and to contribute to society. I'm a sales professional. I professionally help people to buy. Sure, that sounds even much better. I professionally help people to buy. They don't like to be sold to, but they like to buy. I do that in a sales process driven way that is very much documented, so I know the process going backwards and forwards. After I've got the process, I script it, I rehearse it, I practice it, I tweak it. I cannot make people buy if I'm not going through the process and having practiced this multiple times. The fifth one is then I want to control the process. I want to be in charge. I want to position each stage. And you'll remember there I said the most important words in the initial contact of sales is, so that I may serve you better, would you mind if I asked you a few questions? Critical part. Okay, so I'm control the process, I'm positioning. Then number 6, I want to ask for the business. I want to ask for the sale. It doesn't help we've gone through this whole process and I don't ask for the sale. Critical, ask for the sale. And then I manage my numbers. Sales is a numbers game. I know how many prospects at which stage, how many convert. I can track it back to marketing. I know the low value items, the high value items, and I'm managing all in between. So it's a numbers game. Number 8, I know and understand that people will just tell me something to get rid of me. So when I'm dealing with objections, I want to get them all out. I want to make sure they're all out. I want to confirm that if we deal with this, we might be willing to move forward. And then when I'm going through them and confirming them one by one, I get to the end and ask for the sale again. And I've practiced it. And that's also the reason why people are so upset with the salesman that does the timeshare, if you've ever sat in one of those, yet they've had all these wonderful holidays and memories since. They still think about the salesperson instead of what they've bought. I don't care. If I've sold you timeshare and you hate my guts, but you've had 30 years of wonderful holidays with your family, then I've done my job, both for my organization and for you, because I've taken a need that you have and I've matched it with value that I can provide. And then number 9 is sharpen the sword. Stephen Covey already spoke about it in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. You will be in sales forever in your life. Read some books, watch some videos, sign up an action coach to help you with your business, whatever you need to do. But sales is a relatively simple thing. And like I said earlier on, you've been doing this your whole life. You wouldn't be here if you couldn't sell. We can sell. It's an innate human skill. Get in front of the right people and you will sell. Because if you don't, there is no business. We need sales. It's the engine of our businesses. So it's a focus that is easy to have if it achieves and gets the right amount of allocated time and focus and preparation, which is critical. So I hope this has been useful. It's 9 kind of critical areas. I know you've had a lot of input during the day. You've spoken to some very interesting people. You've maybe attended some webinars. So if you've got no questions, of course, if you have questions, we still have 4 minutes left. You can type them in. If you don't have questions before you go, I'd like you to type in, of those 9 things, which is the one that you need to do first? Which is the one that you need to go and commit, start, fix first? Yes, you'll do all the others, I'm sure, down the line, but what's the one? And I'd like you to type that into the sales, into the chat box here so we can see, because it's important for me to see what's the one that stands out, more important for you to actually have the commitment of what you're going to do. So let's quickly have a look here. A question coming through. Is telephonic communication the best way to do sales? Sales, this little box is the most neglected sales tool we have. Too many of us are trying to hide behind social media, behind our computers, behind digital, and we're not engaging with people. This little box helps me engage with people and actually set up a meeting, which might be on Zoom or face-to-face. So the phone is critical in our sales process. Not, oh, I've sent 100 emails. So what? When did you pick up the phone? But how you pick up the phone is important, Jabu. And if you're going to be doing telesales, you can do telesales very well. We do telesales in our business. A lot of our clients do telesales. It's how you do it. So I want to phone Jabu by name, and I want to know what Jabu's surname is. So if he's Welby-Cooke, I don't go Jabu Aweli or Cookie. No, I can say, can I speak to Jabu Welby-Cooke? Jabu, so that I can serve you better today, would you mind if I ask you a few questions? Okay, what is this in connection with? Well, it's in connection with your telecoms, with your IT, whatever. So I can use telesales very successfully in my business, but I need to focus on the client, asking them questions and establishing the need first, and then matching my product and service, not vomiting all over them with stuff that I think they need that they actually don't want. Vodacom phoned me the other day to ask me if I wanted to get a 59 Rand prepaid voucher per month for 39 Rand on a contract for 24 months. I've been a client for almost 30 years and I've never been on prepaid, and I have a contract with you and I spend a fortune. Why would I want a prepaid voucher for 59 Rand? You haven't done your homework. Go away. You're irritating me, which is what we have with people. So I hope that helps with that one. Some focus coming through. Ask for the sale, be in control of the process. Number 3, Sasha, to write down the process, have it very clear. Scripting from Paul, control the process. That's most important. Cannot be a professional if they're controlling the process. If somebody says to me, great, I need a few days to think about it, I'm going to say, great, I would hope that you would. Today is now 1:45 on Monday. Would it be okay if I phone you on Wednesday at 12 o'clock? They're always going to say yes. Unless they know they're busy, then they're going to say, oh no, I'm busy at 12. Can you phone me at 3? Great. It's not never ending. It's not, damn it, are they coming back to me? Am I coming back to them? Is it polite to phone? Is it not? I control the process. They've got an appointment with me at 12 o'clock on Wednesday to follow up. Now, people forget. So when I phone at 12, they're either super amazed that I actually phoned at 12 on the dot, and they go, wow, that's impressive. I control the process. Or they forgot and they're going, oh, sorry, Harry, I can't talk now. Can you phone me later? Great. Can I phone you at 4? Yes, sure. Or I get their voicemail and I leave a message and I'm saying, I'm just phoning for our scheduled appointment at 12 today. Don't worry about phoning me back. I will try you again this afternoon at 5. I always control the process. Be proud of being a salesman and a sales professional. Absolutely. Mapping the process, scripting the process, control of the process. So I'm glad to see everybody has been listening. Just scanning through the questions, make sure we don't have any other questions coming through. Wonderful. So that's me. I hope it's been a valuable 45 minutes. The NSBC and what they're doing, not just as an organization, but in particular, this show is vital. Embrace it, use it. And like the name of our business is called ActionCOACH. Action on what you experienced today, whether it's from me, whether it's through the networking or one of the other webinars. It's through the actions that you take from this wonderful platform that you'll get results. So to Mike, to Leanne, to the whole team, you guys are doing an amazing job, and thank you for your contribution to entrepreneurship in South Africa.